Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember White, should we lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This afternoon, Council is grateful to have Pastor Stephen Price of Smyrna Baptist Church here to pray with us. Pastor, welcome to Council.
Amen. Let us pray. Guide us, O thou great Jehovah, as we pilgrim through this barren land. We're weak, but thou art mighty. Hold us with thy powerful hand, bread of heaven. Feed us till we want no more. Thank you, God, for allowing us to be a part of this great city. Strengthen us, bring us together, and allow us to move forward cohesively. Touch the leadership of our city, that he will guide us in the great direction of upward mobility. Have your way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen, amen. Pastor, before you go, I think Councilmember Faber wanted to recognize.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, I'd like to invite the members of Pastor Price's congregation to the podium if they would like to stand alongside him. But we wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge the members of your church, as well as to inform the broader community that recently Columbus City Council had the privilege to help Pastor Price honor the life of late Bishop Fred Marshall through a ceremonial street naming. Through this ceremonial street naming, we continue to celebrate the bishop's life by acknowledging his journey and his Bishop reaching your full potential. And while we lost a true shepherd, the messages and community building of Bishop Marshall continues to live on through his pastoral community and congregation. We would now like this opportunity to turn it over to Pastor Price to provide any additional remarks that you would like to in honor of the life and legacy of Bishop Marshall. Sir.
Well, I will say that Bishop Marshall was such a paramount figure in the city and state writ large, both in the religious institution and the civic institution. And a void was made when he left this life in May. But I will take a moment to celebrate you all and thank you all for that honorary street name change. You don't know how much it boosted the morale of the church. And it was quite serendipitous when it was able to be installed, because that was on the church's 48th anniversary. And so the timing was impeccable, not at our will, but it was just great timing. And so we want to thank you all, and the church wants to thank you all as well. So again, we celebrate you all and thank you all for what y'all done for this.
Absolutely, and it's truly our honor and pleasure to be able to do some of these things that really do bring us joy, and ceremonial street signings are one of those things. I do want to take this moment to shout out the Department of Public Service for their assistance in helping us to achieve this goal, and most certainly to the members of the congregation and those who were in attendance. We are grateful for your continued partnership and supporting the residents of our community. Are there any of my colleagues have any remarks at this time? Well, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I think we all, no matter what your faith is, appreciate the opportunity just to take a moment to be still, to settle our thoughts, and to press forward. So thank you for your prayer as well this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
Yes, ma'am. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of City Council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go around the dais for any announcements or resolutions from members, starting with Councilmember Bangston.
Thank you, Council President. No announcements or resolutions from me this evening, but we will continue to have our weekly briefing from our Department of Technology on the ongoing cyber incidents. I'm going to have Director Orth come up at this time, as well if we have any updates from our city attorney as well. Director Orth?
Good evening, President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorans, Chair Bangston, and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on our response to the cyber attack since we last met. The cyber attack remains a critical issue and continues to be our department's top priority. Our team is focused on three key areas: investigating the incident, understanding what happened to our systems and how data was stolen, hardening and remediating our systems, ensuring that vulnerabilities are addressed to prevent future breaches, supporting impacted staff and residents, providing Experian credit monitoring and dark web monitoring services. We strongly encourage all current and former city employees, as well as Columbus residents and non-residents whose personal information may have been shared with the city, to enroll in Experian's identity theft protection services. These complementary services include 2 years of credit monitoring with all 3 credit bureaus, dark web monitoring that alerts individuals if their personal information appears online, even if it's unrelated to this incident, identity restoration services, and up to $1 million in identity theft insurance for enrolled users. Enrollment instructions can be found at columbus.gov/cyber. As of October 28th, over 16,600 individuals have registered with Experian. This is a small increase of about 2% over last week's report. As set forth on the city's website, the enrollment deadline is November 29th, 2024, and we encourage everyone that is eligible to sign up. With the assistance of external experts, we remain committed to restoring and securing our systems. Most crucial applications have been restored, including web-based applications. Fastly, employees can perform critical business functions. City departments have limited access to the internet using either Wi-Fi connectivity in city buildings or the websites we've specifically permitted to be accessed. Mobile city employees have access from their vehicles over cellular data connections. DOT has been working hard to restore full internet access, which, barring any unforeseen circumstances this week, we expect to occur this week. There are some final testing and validation steps that are occurring literally as we speak, including after City Council this evening. With full internet restoration this week, users will be able to browse the internet from their desktop computers over wired networks to the city's internet service providers. This week, our focus has been on internet and remote access for our employees. We've restored 2 additional applications, but remain at the 74% restored number that I mentioned last week. Up next, we're launching Workspace ONE, a remote access solution that helps manage and secure devices and applications that have successfully completed testing. That will include remote mail. In closing, I want to emphasize that cybercrime is an ongoing challenge that affects governments, businesses, and individuals across the country. Columbus is not immune from these threats. However, we remain committed to recovering from this incident, supporting those impacted, and strengthening our technology infrastructure for the future. Thank you for your patience, your partnership, and your ongoing support. This concludes my update. While mindful of the ongoing criminal investigation, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or comments from my colleagues at this time? All right, seeing none. Thank you again. As I've always said from this dais, that we are in this together. And so to all of our employees in particular, I want to thank you all for navigating what it is to work from here or work remotely. And I think how that has really disrupted our business and flow. But I want to thank all the employees of the city for being committed to our residents and going through the headaches. And I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you again, Director, and thank you to your team for their diligence. I know there's been a lot of long hours and a lot of long days, and please let them know that it doesn't go unrecognized. All right.
Thank you, Chair Banks.
Thank you. And City Attorney's Office.
President Harden, Chair Bankston, members of council, I just have one update. On Friday, City Attorney Klein announced that we have reached a resolution of the lawsuit with Mr. Ross, also known as Connor Goodwolf. Mr. Ross agreed to a permanent injunction that prevents him from disseminating the city's sensitive data that was part of the breach. And going forward, he will not be able to disseminate any of that. But it does not prevent him from discussing the intrusion or the types of data. So we think this is a positive development in protecting the city's data from further being put out on the web.
Thank you for that, Mr. City Attorney. If we are a suspect or we see any other actors that we know, are we willingly or thinking about taking the same type of action?
I think, oh gosh, boy, that was loud. Sorry, council member. I think that our office would be prepared to take a similar action anytime that we become aware of a similar threat.
Got you. Thank you for that. Any
Thank you.
questions or comments from my colleagues? All right. Thank you. Thank you both for those updates. Council President, so I'll have this.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
Thank you, Council President. I have one announcement. Happy National Immigrants Day. On October 16th, 1987, President Ronald Reagan officially proclaimed October 28th as National Immigrants Day, stating that our national celebration of Immigrants Day is a moving reminder to us that America is unique among the nations. We are the sons and daughters of every land across the face of the earth, yet we are indivisible. We are an indivisible nation. We are one people, and we are one in which drew our forebears here the love of freedom's holy light. America is the world's great experiment in freedom and individual rights, and unlike any other nation on our planet, it was founded and built entirely by immigrants. Americans are citizens either by birth or by choice, abiding under a common flag and constitution, united by its legacy as a land of freedom and opportunity. It's easy to forget that as a nation of immigrants, we are the sum of every idea and dream that ever stepped ashore with an immigrant seeking new opportunities in the United States. Most of these ideas and dreams passed through Ellis Island, America's first immigration center, federal immigration center. Before 1890, the 42 individual states then comprising the United States of America regulated the flow of immigration into the U.S. Europeans fleeing political instability, restrictive religious laws, and deteriorating economic conditions and record numbers, leading to massive numbers of immigrants arriving on American shores by 1890. To ease the burden on individual states, the federal government took over responsibility for processing immigrant arrivals. Ellis Island in New York Harbor opened in 1892 as an immigrant station, becoming the primary port for most immigration into the U.S. after 1890. Immigrants also entered the U.S. through other port cities, including Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, San Francisco, Savannah, Miami, and New Orleans. From opening day on January 1st, 1890 until the day Ellis Island closed in November 1954, over 12 million immigrants passed through the Ellis Island Immigration Station with hopes and dreams of a better life for themselves and their families. Most of those Ellis Island immigrants shared a common dream of becoming an American citizen. In return for pledging allegiance and loyalty to the United States and its Constitution, immigrants who chose to become naturalized citizens were rewarded with all the rights and privileges afforded U.S. citizens and the freedom to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As we celebrate National Immigrants Day, we also celebrate the determination, ingenuity, and spirit immigrants continue to add to the fabric of America. So today, I welcome folks to celebrate Immigrants Day by visiting a coffee shop, restaurant, even online, shopping at a local immigrant business, because immigrants really do make America. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Nancy Dealcar.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to remind our viewers out there, those online and here in Council, that Veterans Day will soon be here. And there are a couple of events that will be honoring our veterans. On November 11th at 11 a.m., there's a Veterans Day ceremony at the National Veterans Museum and Memorial. And then following that, from 12 to 4, City Council is hosting the Veterans Day softball game. It's a fun, family-friendly event that anyone can come to who supports our veterans. We can watch veterans play ball. We've got veteran-owned food trucks there. And so it's a great opportunity to just come together and cheer on our veterans. That's free to the public. It's at Berliner Park, 12 to 4 on Monday, November 11th. That's all for me.
Thank you, Councilmember. President Pro Tem. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Today is also First Responders Day, and so I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our first responders, our police officers, EMT folks, as well as our firefighters, and any of those who respond first, not even thinking about their own safety, but for the safety of those that live in this community. Thank you every day for the work that you do to serve our residents. The Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee will be hosting a hearing focused on the remaining housing initiatives that includes rent increase notification, accessory dwelling unit pilot program, the wholesaler regulation initiative, as well as rental registry. Additionally, we will share some exciting results from a commission study that was done on a previously passed initiative, which focused on providing legal representation at eviction court, as well as hear two other pieces of legislation related to housing being put forward by the Department of Development that include notice of inspection at point of sale, as well as an eviction bond. Furthermore, this hearing will include an update to the fee schedule from the Building and Zoning Services team, as well as proposed taxi fare increase. So there's a lot that's going to be in that hearing that will take place on Tuesday, November 12th at 5 p.m. in council chambers. You can also watch this hearing on the city's YouTube and Facebook pages. To provide written or sign up to provide 3 minutes worth of testimony during the hearing, please email my legislative analyst, Kendra Asaidu, at knasiedu@columbus.gov with the subject line November 12th Housing Hearing Testimony with your name, address, and which legislative piece of information that you would like to speak on by noon on November 12th. Thank you, Council President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Green. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President. Just also want to acknowledge our first responders and thank them for all that they do for the city of Columbus, the residents here as well. Reminder that on Thursday, the 31st, it is Halloween, and trick or treat will be occurring between 6 and 8. It's going to be a rainy evening, it looks like. So just want to make sure that everybody's being extra cautious as they drive throughout their community as the little ones are out trick-or-treating. So that is all I have this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember White.
Thank you, Council President. Just one quick reminder that the deadline for our signups for our Tech Core Hack will be November 8th. So high school students who are interested in getting in coding, please encourage them to sign up. There is a cash prize for the winner, but also technology and swag that will be given out to all of the participants. Obviously, if Columbus is going to be the Silicon Heartland, we need Columbus residents to play a role in what that looks like in the future. And second, just a note of thank you to the Department of Public Utilities, our project engineering contractors and consultants with Black & Veatch and Granite. Got a chance to tour the Lower Olentangy Tunnel, and this is going to be 17,000 feet of 12 diameter tunnel working its way through the city of Columbus. And this tunnel will allow us to satisfy our consent order with the Ohio EPA by reducing overflows from our sewer system. I would encourage any who are interested in experiencing the tour to check out DPU's video series. It's scary to be lifted by a crane 50 feet in the air and placed into a tunnel and then experience a very cramped tunnel experience. So a lot of appreciation goes out to all of those workers because they are underground for a substantial amount of time doing such important work for our city. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilmember. Are there any comments by our elected officials? City Attorney's Office, Auditor's Office. Seeing none, are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance and or resolution consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of third-day legislation on tonight's? Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance number of third-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Finance and Governance Committee, ordinances 2352, 2612, 2789-2024. Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinance 2886-2024. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 2775-2024. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 2764, 2813, 2814-2024. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinance 2857-2024. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 2625, 2731, 2781, and 2785-2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We don't have any speakers on the first reading portion of the agenda. The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolutions of Expression 290X-2024. Finance and Governance Committee, Resolution 247X-2024. Ordinances 2638, 2660, 2666, 2669, 2691, 2715, 2746, 2823, 2689, 2827, 2883, 2894-2024. Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinances 2658, 2800-2024. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 2674 and 2699-2024. Neighborhoods, Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 2475, 2479, 2491, 2493, 2765, 2784, 2854, 2962-2024. Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee, ordinances 2551, 2914, 2944-2024. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 2332, 2604, 2805, 2816-2024. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, ordinance 2673, 2742, 2938-2024. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinances 2603 and 2696-2024. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 2454, 2516, 2544, 2556, 2564, 2567, 2576, 2583, 2586, 2589, 2595, 2611, 2623, 2627, 2647, 2698, 2702, 2720, 2728, 2729, 2733, 2745, 2786, and 2750-2024, appointments from the mayor's office numbered A0, 182, 183, 184, and 185-2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have one speaker on the consent portion of the agenda, Mr. Nate Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council. Mr. Wilkins is speaking in favor of ordinance 2805 in the Housing Committee.
(1612) Arlington Avenue, Mr. Lathan George Wilkins. I will be speaking in favor of this. I would like to say the house that's located on Miller Avenue, beginning with 871 through 877. I would like to say, this is not enough money, but we want to bring this up to more money of $9,750,000. And the reason why that I say this is because if we look at these homes today, I went to the library and put this off the Franklin County Auditor's website. I believe this home was vacant and abandonment at the time. Also, I believe, looking at this structure here, we have a house that's under construction here that's being built. But we have to understand here, to look at this, to look at the Franklin County Auditor's website here, that we always have to understand when it comes to vacant land, we want to know what was there before and after. If we are talking about this technology for the future, having more people come to Columbus, Ohio, to buy these homes, we want them to be lined with the other homes in that area. You know, you have some duplexes, you have single-family homes, but we also want to look at high-tech security system, intercoms, and all this other stuff, and having more safer walkways, pedestrians, and all this other stuff. And so, looking at this, we want to bring this up to $9,750,000. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilkins, Director. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion of approval of these items designated as consent? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Consent portion of the agenda is passed. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee, chaired by Councilmember de Alcala. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First in my committee this evening, we have Ordinance 2486-2024 to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish an auditor certificate in the amount of $500,000 for various expenditures for professional architectural, engineering, and construction management services in conjunction with park, trail, and facility capital improvement projects, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks Department to enter into multiple future professional service contracts, to authorize the transfer of $500,000 within the Recreation and Parks voted bond fund, to authorize the amendment of the 2024 capital improvements budget, and to authorize the expenditure of $500,000 from the Recreation Parks voted bond fund. The department is looking to authorize an arrangement of pre-qualified vendors for various architectural, engineering, and construction needs for parks and facilities from 2024 to 2026. This is a process that has been utilized since 2018 and has been proven to create efficiencies for department projects. Services that would be provided by pre-qualified vendors may include, but are not limited to, 4 categories: site planning, architectural design, landscape architecture, golf course design, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC engineering, civil engineering, environmental engineering and services, and structural engineering, construction management, inspection, and surveying. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, then I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 2490-2024 to authorize and direct the city auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $1,745,000 for the purchase of equipment for the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize the director to authorize and direct the Director of Finance and Management to enter into various contracts for the purchase of equipment on behalf of the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize the appropriation of $166,327.31 within the Recreation and Parks Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize a transfer of $1,546,679.30 within the Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund and Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize an amendment of the 2024 capital improvement budget, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,745,000 from the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund and Permanent Improvement Fund. This ordinance authorizes the department to purchase various types of equipment needed for the maintenance of buildings, trees, parks, sports fields, and golf facilities. Equipment like tractors, loaders, mowers, and trailers will be purchased on an as-needed basis and according to competitive bidding requirements. This equipment will be used to ensure the facilities remain accessible, safe, updated, user-friendly, and well-maintained. Are there any questions or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have for my committee today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, chaired by Councilman Remy. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. Tonight we have two ordinances in this committee. First one is 2615, 2024, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into contract with Motorola Solutions, Inc. for the purchase of commercial license subscriptions for the investigative data platform, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize an expenditure of $103,990 from the Law Enforcement Seizure Fund, and to declare an emergency. The commercial license plate reader licensing subscriptions will enable the LPRs in the neighborhood safety camera system to continue to work in conjunction with the Shot Spotter program, and will help provide vital information from vehicles leaving the areas when the Division of Police is alerted by the Shot Spotter program. Deputy Director Halloran, can you explain the waiver of competitive bidding, please?
President Harden, Chair Remy, members of council, thank you. The bid waiver here will ensure that we have operational continuity. Since this vendor we already work with, and the solution that we'll be purchasing will allow the continued, or the subscription we'll be purchasing, will allow the continued information from the license plate readers, the neighborhood safety cameras, and the Shot Spotter technology to be used by the Division of Police in our other area law enforcement agencies.
Okay. We didn't hear any of that, but you either got to pull the mic right up to you.
I apologize. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Okay. Thanks.
President Harden, Chair Remy, members of council, thank you. The waiver here will ensure operational continuity. As the Division of Police and local law enforcement agencies currently use this software, so these commercial licensing subscriptions will enable license plate readers, neighborhood safety cameras to work in conjunction with the Shot Spotter technology, which will provide information to the Division of Police and other local law enforcement agencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 2667, 2024, to authorize the Director of Department of Finance and Management on behalf of the Municipal Court Clerk to enter into a contract with Dell Marketing LP for the purchase of and maintenance of maintenance support and services for Microsoft licenses, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $62,228.11 from the Municipal Court Clerk Computer Fund, and to declare an emergency. Microsoft Office 365 is the standard desktop computer software for the daily operations of the municipal court clerk. The term of this contract is for 1 year. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you very much. That is all I have in public safety and criminal justice this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, chaired by Councilmember White. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have 6 ordinances in public utilities and sustainability tonight. First, I have Ordinance 2566-2024 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase a professional engineering services contract with CDM Smith Incorporated for the Southerly Plant-Wide Control System Improvements Project, to appropriate funds in the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $3,894,000 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund to pay for the contract modification. This planned modification of the existing professional engineering services contract with CDM Smith Incorporated will cover the cost of detailed design, engineering, and development of biddable plans based on decisions made in the first phase of the Southerly Plant-Wide Control System Improvements Project. Let me pause there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have Ordinance 2569-2024 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify an increase in professional engineering services contract with Hatch Associates Consultants Incorporated for the Jackson Pike Wastewater Treatment Plant-Wide Control Project, to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget, to appropriate funds in the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $4,182,200 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund to pay for the contract modification. Similar to the last ordinance, this is a planned contract modification to increase funding for professional engineering services contract with Hatch Associates and Consultants Incorporated to perform detailed design, engineering, and develop biddable plans based on the decisions made in the first phase of the Jackson Pike Wastewater Treatment Plant-Wide Control Project. Let's stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have Ordinance 2574-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a contract with Woolport Incorporated for Geographic Information Systems, GIS, professional services for an amount not to exceed $150,000, to authorize the use of the remaining funds of $150,000 on PO 415023 to pay for the cost of the contract and to waive competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code. The Department of Public Utilities utilizes GIS data for various purposes related to daily operations and to ensure environmental compliance and wellness. The original contract associated with this project for GIS professional services expired on October 6, 2024. This contract allows the consultant to help with continued development of the City of Columbus GIS system, including its associated applications and data sets. The term of this contract is established for 1 year and will with 2 one-year renewal options. Deputy Director Q, 1, speak to the project, and then 2, speak to the waiving of competitive bidding.
Certainly. Yes, Council President Harden, Chair White, members of council. As council members stated, this project will continue upgrades to the GIS system, which helps us manage multiple systems, including watershed management, fire hydrant inspection, are just a couple examples. We're asking for a waiver so we can continue with the same consultant to help with timeliness of the project and a consistent work product.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have Ordinance 2585-2024 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to modify to add funding to contracts with Ohio Mulch Supply Incorporated and Quasar Energy Group LLC North Tree Farm for the Deep Row Hybrid Poplar Tree Farm No. 2 program, to authorize the expenditure of $1 million from the Sanitary Sewerage Operating Fund. As part of our sustainability measures, the city has committed to 100% beneficial reuse of biosolids. The Deep Row Hybrid Poplar Tree Farm No. 2 program allows for organic materials to be composted and used to fertilize rapid growth tree farms. We are currently in the second year of the 7-year contract, and this is the 4th plan modification. Stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 2677-2024 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate current and pending universal term contract purchase agreements for the purchase of water treatment chemicals for the Division of Water, to authorize the transfer of $2,591,275 between object classes in the Water Operating Fund, and to authorize the expenditure of $3,800,000 from the Water Operating Fund. The Department of Public Utilities Division of Water is tasked with treating our water to ensure that it is potable. In fact, the division has historically had water that is safer than the national average and exceed national standards. Due to supply chain issues and regulatory changes, additional funding is necessary to continue treating our drinking water. Let me pause there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Last, I have ordinance 2704-2024 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into an ongoing services contract with Synagro Central LLC to remove residuals for Parsons Avenue Water Plant Residuals Removal and Disposal Lagoon Number 3 project, to appropriate funds within the Water Operating Fund, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $5 million from the Water Operating Fund. Water residuals are the byproduct of treating raw water to create safe drinking water. At the Parsons Avenue Water Plant, these residuals are stored in lagoons until disposal is needed approximately every 12 to 15 years. Lagoon 3 is nearing its storage capacity. Some of these materials will be disposed of in a beneficial reuse manner as fertilizer or compost, while some of the materials will be taken to landfills for disposal. This disposal preserves the existing lagoon to continue to be used for residual storage and will cost less than operating new land or building another residual storage lagoon. The contract is expected to last up to 4.5 years and cost around $41.3 million. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have from my committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The shortest meeting of the year. If there's no further business coming for council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White. President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We have several non-agenda
White, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorrance chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. As always, before beginning tonight's zoning agenda, allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking for council on rezonings and variances. We will only hear a staff presentation for ordinance that have a disapproval from recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed to speak against an ordinance. We permit 3 speakers on each side of an ordinance, 3 proponents, 3 opponents. We ask that those speakers limit their remarks to 3 minutes per the standard rules of City Council. Only those who own property within 125 feet of an address that is the subject of a variance request are legally able to make public comments on a council variant pursuant to advice from the City Attorney's Office. All speakers on council variances, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of an area commission are always able to speak on an ordinance. They do not need to fill out a speaker slip, but we do ask you alert city staff of your intentions to speak at this committee hearing. This evening, we have 1 public speaker on our agenda. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, we'll now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, that you shall answer to pains and penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Brandon Carpenter from the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Daniel Bleshman from the Department of Public Service have been sworn in. First, we have ordinance number 2911-2024 to amend ordinance number 1958-2003 passed October 25th, 2004, and ordinance 1474-2006 passed October 4th, 2006 for property located at 2731 McHenry Drive by amending section 1 of ordinance number 1958-2003 to include a legal description for the specific property by the repealing section 1 of ordinance 1474-2006 and repealing it with a new section 3 to modify the limitation text as it pertains to allowable building height. Ordinance 1958-2003 was passed October 25th, 2004, and rezoned 12.02 plus acres on 2699 Spangler Road to allow a multi-unit residential development with 120 total units in accordance with the submitted development text. Ordinance number 1474-2006 passed October 4th, 2006, amended the original ordinance to allow townhouse uses. This ordinance amends 9.57 plus acres of the original 12 plus acres to allow 3-story buildings, whereas only 2-story buildings were previously allowed. No aspect of the previous ordinance are changing with this amendment. Proposal has approval from city staff and the Far South Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorrance, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Waived.
Next, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorrance, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, and finally move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorrance, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we move into the council variances portion of our agenda. First, we have ordinance 2777-2024 to grant a variance to provisions of section 3332.035 R3, residential district 3332.05 A4 area district lot width requirement of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 698 South 22nd Street to allow 2-unit dwelling to reduce lot width in the R3 residential district. The site consists of one undeveloped parcel, and the requested council variance will allow the construction of a 2-unit dwelling. A council variance is required because the current district does not allow 2-unit dwelling. A variance to conform the existing lot width is also included in the request. Proposal has approval from city staff and Livingston Avenue Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorrance, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorrance, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorrance, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2815-2024 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.38H, private garages 3332.38G, private garage of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 138 East North Broadway to allow habitable space of attached garage. Height in the R3 residential district. Site consists of a single unit dwelling, and the requested council variance will allow the construction of a detached garage with habitable space located above, also known as a carriage house. A council variance is required because the habitable space by the garage is only allowed when connected directly to the habitable space within a dwelling. A variance for increasing garage height is also included in this request. Proposal as approved from city staff and the Clintonville Area Commission. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff, the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans, Favor Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2825-2024 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332. .033 R2 residential district, 3312.25 maneuvering, 3312.27 parking setback line, 3312.29 parking space, 3312.49 required parking, and 3332.28 side yard obstruction of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1763 South Champion Avenue to allow a Type A child care home with reduced development standards in the R2 residential district. The site consists of two parcels, one undeveloped and the other developed with a single unit dwelling. And the requested council variance proposes the dwelling to be used as a Type A child care home, which, unlike a Type B child care home, is not allowed use in the current district. The request also includes variances to maneuvering, parking setback lines, parking space required parking, and side obstruction, all of which will enable parking in the dwelling's driveway for drop-off and pickup, and also supported by city staff and the South Side Area Commission. We do have a member of the public signed up to speak against this ordinance at this time, so we'll hear a staff report from Mr. Brandon Carpenter from the Department of Building and Zoning Services. Mr. Carpenter, the floor is yours.
President Harden, Chair Dorans, members of council, the requested council variance will allow a Type A family child care home in an existing single-unit dwelling. A Type A family child care home allows between 7 and 12 children. 13 or more is considered a daycare center. Daycare centers are commercial in nature and do not have a residential component. Variances for maneuvering, parking setback line, parking space, required parking, and side yard obstruction are also included in the request. A council variance is required because the R2 residential district does not allow Type A family child care homes, while a Type B child care home allowing up to 6 children is an allowable use. North, south, and east of the site are single-unit dwellings, all in the R2 residential district. West of the site is a manufacturing facility in the M manufacturing district. The site is within the planning area of the South Side Plan, which recommends low-medium density residential land use for this location. Additionally, the plan includes early adoption of the Columbus Citywide Planning Policy's design guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Columbus South Side Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Staff recognizes that there are practical difficulties with the standards variances included in the request. Since the primary use of the property will remain a single-unit dwelling, staff has no objection to the requested use, which must comply with Ohio Revised Code requirements and be inspected by the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions from council members of the department at this time? Seeing none, I'll invite the applicant forward, Ms. Teresa Smith. Ms. Smith, welcome to council. When you get to the podium, I'm going to swear you in real quick, if that's okay. Hello. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, as you shall answer in the pains of penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Floor is yours, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Teresa Smith. I've been in child care for 19 years now. I was just running a 5-star center in Reynoldsburg. But my agenda is to build pride on the South Side. I grew up on the South Side. I went to Marion Franklin. I was homecoming queen. I was homecoming queen, best dressed, Miss Attitude, all of that. But my goal is to bring pride to the South Side. Right now, I'm a Type B, but I want to be able to employ people. I want to eventually be able to get a building, so I started in the home. When Job and Family Services came out, I live on the upstairs, so the whole downstairs is the child care center. The living room is the preschool room. One bedroom is the infant room. The other bedroom is the toddler room, changing table, and the dining room is their eating area. but my goal is to bring the South Side up, and children are our future. And like I said, I was just running a 5-star center for 4 years. I left that center to open this one in my home because that's in Reynoldsburg. And like I said, I live on the South Side. My kids go to Marion Franklin, and I want to be able to bring that area up. And what's our main focus is these kids. If these kids are our future, I feel like I have to pour into them. What I'm seeing right now is not okay. I go to these different centers. Like right now, I'm only a type B, so I'm not really making what I was just making. So the days that I don't have kids, I go to other centers and fill in. And what I'm seeing right now is not okay. Like, it's bringing tears to my eyes. I just left a 5-star center, and it was filthy. To where I had to have a guy that I know that cleans carpets and buff and wax floors get the job to go clean that for those kids. It wasn't okay. So I know what I can do. I've been doing this for 19 years. I leave a center. I actually got my first center closed down. I was on the news, Channel 10. It was called 24-Hour Child Care Center in Great Southern Shopping Center. I got that closed down. I was not okay with that. I went in. They did not have hot water, and I came in at 3:00 p.m., so that means all day. They were not sterilizing those kids' dishes. So once again, my main agenda is to bring pride to the South Side, be able to employ people, and be able to focus on these kids.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. So one, want to thank you for that statement. And I think most of the members of this council, you're preaching to the choir about the need for more quality child care, particularly in so many places in our city that are child care deserts. I think we've got lots of folks up here on this dais right now that have little ones at home right now, so we know how important it is for folks like you to be able to help support working parents to be able to provide quality child care for them while folks go earn a living. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the facility, and these are more legal questions around this. So one, so currently operating a Type B facility.
Yes,
so you've already made modifications to the building based upon that, modifications that undertook expense, all those kinds of things to modify the building to fit the Type B facility, which is allowed in the current zoning district. Is that correct?
Yes.
So again, right now, basically to move towards a Type A facility, you've requested a number of different variances that would allow that to happen. Right now, because you've already made modifications to the facility itself, it'd be difficult to undo those modifications at this point. Is that?
It wasn't nothing like major, Job and Family Services came and told me to do A, B, and C, put this on the cabinets. So I didn't do no dramatic change.
Okay.
So I can undo anything.
Gotcha. But during the life of its operation at this point, so modifications that have already been made to the facility, it's been operating for how long have you been operating at this point?
August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of those variances that has been requested is a parking variance. So can you talk to us a little bit about the need for having one less parking spot compared to what the code currently requires?
So basically, I think the ordinance was 5 parking spaces, but the way my driveway is, it's super long. It goes back behind the fence. So we were saying, when they came out, they were saying 4 cars can fit in the driveway at once.
So there's no practical way that you could actually make 5 parking spots fit in that driveway?
Not in the no, not ideally.
Gotcha. And that's primarily the reason for the requesting of that variance.
Yes.
Great. So if I'm hearing you, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. So one, the requested variance from a use standpoint, the building's already being used in a way that's childcare specific. You would like to, again, change, which again requires some additional regulation from the state of Ohio. But again, the building already has been somewhat modified to allow this kind of thing to happen. So this is more about expanding the current use that's already there and some variances that would allow that to take place. Is that sort of fair? Okay, thank you. Any questions from council members for the applicant at this time? Thank you, Ms. Smith. I may invite you back. We do have one public speaker here, so I will give you the opportunity if you want to speak after that public speaker here in a moment. Thank you. As I mentioned, we had one public speaker sign up to speak on this ordinance, Ms. Nikki Olivia Von Austen. Welcome to council, ma'am. And I'm going to swear you in when you get the podium as well. Welcome to council. Do you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to pains and penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Floor is yours.
So I only heard about this maybe a week or two ago. So I went to go fill out the slip for giving feedback and found that I wasn't able to actually fill out the form until the morning of today. So I don't know if that impacts, the fact that I'm the only one in the neighborhood that's here. But our street, our neighborhood, it's an affordable blue-collar neighborhood. There aren't really any businesses except for a corner store several blocks north and a bar several blocks south. It's a nice, affordable neighborhood. I live 2 houses down. I own 1775 South Champion Avenue. And I guess I'm concerned that having essentially a parking lot next to the backyards of our house will drive down the value of our property. I did hear, having daycare centers is important. There are several daycare centers on Parsons and Lockbourne, which are on bus routes. Champion is not on a bus route. Also, I don't know that it's the right kind of neighborhood. The house north of this property, they have 2 Rottweilers. I myself have 2 rescues. One is a pit bull. The house directly to the south of them, the one that sort of buffers us, is a rental property. And I know that house does not have a fence, and they used to have a German Shepherd. So I'm not saying that this is, a bad thing for the neighborhood. I just kind of question if this is right for, the street that we're on. And again, also I'm concerned about my property value, to be honest. So, and that's it.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from council members? Seeing none, thank you very much. I will invite the applicant back up. Thank you, Ms. Smith. So one of the questions from the public speaker was around sort of parking generally. So again, the request here is again, the variance request is specifically going from 5 to 4 parking spots. So, but that parking would remain in the driveway, correct?
Yes, I didn't, as far as I was understood, that they didn't have to add no parking in the back because that's what they came to approve my driveway for.
So
the 4 parking
there's no modification
No.
that could potentially, hey, someone's backyard is now a parking pad, which again could, potentially detrimentally affect the neighborhood.
No, sir.
And again, so you're operating a type B facility right now.
Mhm.
If we were not to pass this ordinance tonight, would you continue to operate that type B facility?
Yes, until I can, get my money up. Like I said, my whole thing is to build pride on the south side. And I understand what she said about bringing her value down. But if my type A center is a 5-star center, it brings the property up. It's going to be a high quality center. I'm very well educated. I have all the certificates. It's going to be a high quality childcare center. And I want to employ the neighborhood. I want to get the neighborhood involved. I'm going to have community events for the neighborhood, kids that don't go, but just the neighborhood so we can get involved, partnerships, all of that. So I don't see it bringing the value down. I actually see it bringing it up if it's a good quality daycare. And that's all I'm in it for, is the quality of it.
And outside of the variances that you've requested here tonight, there's no substantial changes to the building itself, exterior-wise, correct?
No, sir, not at all. That's what they came out for, to make sure that the driveway was able to hold those 4 parking spaces, and it was. So that's why they knocked it down from the 5 to the 4. And then that extra lot that's in the back, I wanted to make that a community garden. And she said something about my neighbor having 2 Rottweilers, he built a fortress. You can't even see over in his yard. Like, he has his fences. Like, when they came out, they asked me, did I know the neighbor? Because it was a fortress. Like, you can't even see over there. But I don't think I'm going to bring the property value down. My goal is to bring it up. My goal is to bring quality to the south side.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
I have a couple questions. How many children will be at the center at any given time, or what's the capacity?
Type A is 12.
12.
Yes.
And then what would you say is the average? Because, I mean, when my kids were in daycare, I usually just dropped them off because I was going to work, and then my car left because I went to work, and then I came back to pick them up. So the average time of drop off, and then about how many of the 12 kids, if you were at capacity, would be from the neighborhood, like maybe walking instead of driving?
I'm hoping 90%, like, because that's my goal, is to get the neighborhood. Like, when I first moved there, I didn't know that the guy was moving next door, but those were the people that I was talking to. I see he had a baby. Come and check out, my daycare center, come inside. Like, I want to get the neighborhood involved.
But to the point of a parking lot would insinuate that cars would be parked there for an extended period of time.
Oh, no.
But this would be for drop off and pickup of the children that would be in your care for a short period of time during the day, right?
Yeah,
for
I'm
drop off.
sorry, I
and then
didn't
at the end.
understand your question.
No
at
worries.
first.
I just wanted to make sure that I kind of illustrated that, because I think the notion of a parking lot makes people think it is like a standing
it's just
many cars at a
drop off
time.
and pick up, and I actually don't drive myself, so I don't even have a car in the parking in the driveway. So it's literally people would be dropping their kids off and picking
And potentially, if there are folks who are in the neighborhood, they could even walk to drop them off, which is interesting, because I actually went to my first daycare center was a street over from my house in a house it was a small house that was built in the back and it was an asset to the neighborhood because it was right down the street from my house, right down the street from my elementary school. So I just want to say, I think as our neighborhoods are changing, I think we need to start thinking a little differently about what we think is an asset and what the neighborhood looks like. I will also say that that daycare was on the edge of Main Street, which is the main thoroughfare where Link Us one day will be. And at that time, Main Street was what Main Street was. I mean, there was an adult bookstore, there was a strip club, and I still came out a highly productive young person, I would just say, because I think that we live where we live. Yes. And we have different things in our environment. And so when we bring assets into the neighborhood, we should celebrate that and think about how that really does bring the whole neighborhood up. So I just wanted to just point that out as we're thinking about, how our neighborhoods are changing and how we're thinking about space and how we're thinking about land use and how that needs to kind of change.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Weich.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Just a question for you. Your backyard, is that fenced?
Yes.
So the kids will be able to go outside. So it's not really possible for any dogs to kind of get through your fence.
It's completely fenced around the whole house. And then, like I said, if you pull the property back up, it's another property behind that we actually own. And that whole thing is going to be a community garden to where the neighbors can come and get vegetables, fruit, whatever we're growing out there. And that'll be free to the neighborhood, and that's something that the kids will be doing, gardening and, just bringing the south side up.
Appreciate that. And then as you kind of make this transition to a level A, if I'm correct,
Type A.
I assume Type A, you're going to be hiring staff
Yes,
as well?
and that's my main goal.
I would assume then the staff would probably use some of the parking, or would they be walking from elsewhere in the neighborhood?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Most likely they'll pull up into the
Further up into the driveway.
because like I said, it's fenced in, and then it's actually more parking behind the fence.
Gotcha.
So I'll let the employees park behind.
Further. Oh, okay. As far as Type A, what does that look like from a staffing level for you? How many people do you
So
need?
I can hold 12 kids. So like I said, right now I'm open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. My main goal is not to be there all day.
Yeah.
Actually working. So I can hire 1 to 2 staff members at a given shift.
Yeah. But like state requirements require
It has to be 2 people.
2 people
Yes,
per,
2 people.
like for
6
6
kids. Yes.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
each person could have 6 kids apiece.
Perfect.
Yeah. So like I said, any given time, 2 to 3, 1 or 2 staff that I can hire.
Thank you.
Councilman Marini.
I just want to take a moment and thank you for your commitment to the South Side. Thank you for standing up a business like this. We, like it was previously said by Council President Pro Tem, we need quality child care in our communities, and that means on every street in our community. So we appreciate your commitment and your fight to offer quality child care to our residents. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments from council members? Thank you, Ms. Smith. Appreciate it.
Guys, here.
So the question for any variance request before the body is a legal question and whether or not a hardship has been established. Here in this case, we have a facility that is already operating as a child care facility. There's really not an opportunity, again, based upon some of the things we've heard in the record here, to change that current use. This is really just moving that use slightly forward and expanding it. So they understand folks in the neighborhood's questions and concerns about how this may or may not affect those that are already there. Again, with the facility already being in operation and this being a modest increase to that, and again, the establishment that some of these variance requests, there's really no other way for the applicant to be able to meet the requirements of what state requirements would be under the conditions that we have to consider from a body. I'm comfortable moving forward. So at this point, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage.
Second.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have in tonight's zoning agenda.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Is there any further business for council seeing none? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Coward, Dorans, Faber Green, Remy White, President Harden.